Welcome to Action Unwind. I'm Drew. This is Dean, and we are back. First things first, we've missed you, and thank you. The outreach and the comments and stuff, it really means a lot to us that people are invested in this channel and in this community, because that's what this is about. To be completely transparent with you guys, life hit us pretty hard, and we had some health things, we had some family things. We're all good, but we had to prioritize those. We had to focus on those. And that's sometimes, as a collector, one of the harder things to do is we have to kind of put a pause on the collection and the figure hunting and the pre-orders to really focus on some stuff that really matters.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the collecting was still happening at a lower scale, as you said. We're just doing a little bit more privately. We weren't able to jump on and do what we love to do here. But as you said, we're back and we're very excited. So as Drew mentioned, thank you so much for the check-ins. Everyone's been, hey, where are you guys at? When's the next episode? Yeah. What's been going on? And that means the world to us, and it means that people are actually digging what we're doing. So to get moving, what we want to first off do, other than apologizing to yourselves, is we have another massive apology to make, and that is to a good friend of ours. He helped us with some items last season, and one of the things he helped us do was set time for us to do an interview. That is Jason Bienvenu of SPERO Toys. He does the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. If you don't know, well, you should, and now get on it. And
we'll link them below.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we want to do is, again, like I said, apologize to Jason. He's a great guy. He took some time. He sat down with us. We did an interview about 11 months ago, just before we took our time away, and we want to share that with you. So without further ado, here it is.
Welcome to Action Unwind. I'm Drew. This is Dean. We are joined today with a very special guest, Jason Bienvenu of SPERO Toys. Jason, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you guys doing?
We're doing awesome, man.
Doing great.
This is cool to think how many nights we were watching Kickstarters and searching online and looking at this line coming to life, and we're like, where did this come from? Who are these?
Right.
I mean,
that's a big difference between this Kickstarter and the last Kickstarter. Was I felt like the first Kickstarter, it was a big success, and I had done other productions in the past, but like there wasn't as much of a spotlight on that one or as there was for that one. And then this one's even more. And so it's familiar to me, but it's been different for like the audience is what I was going to say.
For sure.
That's amazing. This feels like the season's come full circle for us, where our first episode was spotlighting, how we came across Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, and now we're here talking to the creator, brains behind it. So it's pretty cool for us. So again, thanks for taking the time here. But yeah, I just want to
my pleasure.
Get in a little bit behind the scenes, kind of ask you some questions just of how it all came about. But we started to connect recently through the little Figure Madness tournament that we were hosting, and our guy right here, General Thane, came out victorious, and pretty excited about that win.
Cool.
So just taking a look at that, you beat out some legacy giants, right? Hasbro,
right? Yeah,
Transformers, Jurassic Park, G.I. Joe, we're all in that. What do you think that SPERO has tapped into, and maybe those established brands seem to be missing right now? What do you think the draw is right now to Animal Warriors?
Well, first of all, it's incredibly flattering because I love all that stuff. I grew up with all of it, and I still collect a lot of it. If I had to take a guess, I would say it might be a combination, a little collector fatigue. I used to always joke about, there's only so many times you could buy a Luke Skywalker or, or like a Captain America before it starts to feel a little less special. I will say the exception to those rules are Spider-Man. You could just buy like so many Spider-Man and Batman, like those two. And I'm sure there's a couple of others that I'm not thinking of, but we're at a time where like we've got lots of versions of beloved IPs that we've just got a lot of it. And that can be a double-edged sword because sometimes, too much of something can start to feel less special. And it also, I grew up in the 80s, and even at that time, it was intimidating to read, like just kind of pick up a Spider-Man or a Batman or a Superman comic because there had been so many stories by that time that it was like you felt like you were like trying to jump in the middle of this like soap opera that you don't understand. Um, and where ours comes from is it's got a little sprinkle of nostalgia feel to it, but it's a new IP. And so it's something exciting. You're just like, I don't know what this is. It's exciting. It's been so long since like a new IP has come out where you're like, oh, what is this? This is so cool. Like, I mean, like legit, the last time I remember feeling like that was when the Bionicles came out. You know what I mean? And like
Oh,
that's like
buddy.
20
yeah,
years
Oh,
ago,
buddy.
absolutely.
you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
That
It, it,
feels
That's the wheel.
that
right?
feels, buddy. Those
It's
saved Lego. Side story, but
Yes.
still,
Yeah,
yeah,
they really did.
yeah.
And it's so I think there's a lot of that where, there's not that many figures to collect. So as a collector or a
Mm.
completist, you don't feel overwhelmed with like trying out the line. I am personally, I like to think of myself as a sampler. So like I don't feel any kind of need to complete stuff. So I kind of pick and choose what I like. And I think it appeals to, people that might be that type of collector. And if you're a completist, there's not, like I said, there's not a ton of product. I think we've got around 20 figures um, that are like champions, not the basic character builders yet. So it's not so intimidating to kind of jump on. And I even remember whenever the Masters of the Universe Classics came out,
Hmm.
um, I think He-Man and Skeletor were sold out. I think it was like maybe five or six like must-have figures before I figured out or found out about it. They were already sold out, so it was already like a game of catch up. Um, and that's just not the case with this. So it's a
Yeah.
good time to kind of jump onto the brand.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
fantastic. No, yeah, thanks for that. You mentioned a couple other lines there that you've, collected growing up in the 80s, so there probably is some figures now that, were grail pieces that you wanted at some point and now have picked up. What do you think 20 years down the road, what's going to be the grail piece right
A
now
figure
in
victory.
yeah, what's the figure victory?
Yeah.
What's the grail piece out of AWOC you think
Oh
in the
man.
future?
Well, so the Adventure Armor Pale recently sold out, and he's
Oh,
like
nice.
he kind of reminds me of like the OP He-Man, like that original He-Man that everyone had, where like the blonde hair is like kind of rubbed off and like the
Yeah, yeah.
everything's kind of like getting paint worn and stuff. I feel like that one's probably gonna be sought after. And then I think Thane because it's got such a crossover appeal.
Hmm.
I was talking to store owners today, like they were reordering stuff for the shop, and they were saying how Thane sold out immediately. And I said, yeah, like you don't have to be into Animal Warriors of the Kingdom, but if you're like a DC fan or a sword and sorcery fan and you see like this big armored gorilla, you're like, whoa, what is that? And you might not buy anything else from the line, but I do have a feeling that Thane will kind of like be at toy shops and thrift shops, like antique shops and stuff. And people will kind of
Paramount
pick it up and be like,
Flash.
what the heck is
Yeah,
this? This
yeah,
is so cool. I don't remember this type of thing. And
absolutely.
but hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully it'll be like, whoa, I found a first edition thing.
Yeah.
Might
So
also be flying off the shelves after his big win of the
Yeah, this
Action
is
Figure
true.
right,
Madness
yeah.
2025 tournament,
Yeah.
right? So
It will be really easy to tell that this is a first issue because of all the metallics. Whenever we
Okay.
do, eventually offer it again, it won't have as much metallic on it. It will have some metallic, but it won't have this much.
Okay.
So all the re-releases will be easy to tell the difference.
You
So
heard it here
uh,
first.
yeah.
You heard it here first.
exactly. So
That is the chase
yeah.
right there,
So
the metallics
There
for
you
yeah,
go.
sure.
it'll be easily identifiable.
Great. So, kind of on the same note we were mentioning there, you mentioned He-Man and stuff. We have Tanger, which is like a nod to Beastman, right? So,
Right.
when you guys are creating the figures and stuff, is there any other additional kind of nods to those figures of the past, or sculpting nod that maybe is from a figure that was just like a close to home or a favorite growing up, or
Um, if there's Easter eggs, I don't want to see, but um, I love color theory,
Mhm.
and I got my degree in graphic design, and we learn the rules of like the color wheel and all that stuff, and I always found it fascinating that uh Masters of the Universe really tended to break a lot of rules. Like there's no legitimate reason why orange and pink should go together, but somehow they made it
it
work,
just works?
you
Yeah.
know? So I didn't necessarily take cues from it, but it kind of allowed me to break rules. And I remember, I could see Lexion over your left shoulder or your right shoulder.
Oh, buddy.
Yeah.
And I remember kind of showing the team that before we like showed it as a stretch goal, and they were like, man, I like how it's all like muted tones, but like this orange, I'm not feeling, trust me, it's gonna work. It's gonna,
Yeah.
so like kind of seeing it like painted and everything, they were like, okay, that's cool. That
Earthy.
makes sense. And,
Yeah.
it was like, I think that, I think that was like maybe like a man at arms type of thing that like
Mm.
the green and the orange, which seemed weird. Uh, I can't, it's been a little while, but I think that particular color combo gave me the idea to like try something a little bit wilder, with mix the subdued with something bright popping on them.
Yeah, you posted a little while ago too. I think it's I don't know if it's still on track, but for on your IG page, you posted last year about Felonious being a exclusive for the Jolanta
For
2025, and that looks like
yeah,
it's a nice
so
looks like a nice nod to Faker from
yeah, yeah,
Meth.
so that's our nod to Faker. What's funny is whenever we did that show, for y'all that are watching it now, at the time there was this massive hurricane that had just passed through Atlanta, and everything it was just this kind of crazy chaos. And this gentleman had this amazing, huge Master of the Universe Castle Grayskull, like just huge. Like I want to say it was like maybe 3 feet by like 4 feet.
Wow,
And we
man.
were like, man, won't it be cool to put it in the Grayskull and take a photo with it? We're taking photos and stuff, and then we posted it, and someone was like, hey, it says it's gonna be Toy Atlanta 2025. And I was like, what? No, what? No, it's Joe Lanta. And then I noticed like I was like so focused on like making the cool photo that there's like a little sign that said Joe Lanta, and we were like, no, or Toy Lanta. We were like, no, it's Joe Lanta 2025. Um, so I talked to Brett about it, and I was like, we'll probably have to air freight that figure in, like the other, because it's all part of like the Brawler production.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And like the tariff thing is like everything's kind of up in the air, but if everything goes to plan, it should be there for Joe Lanta. And it'll be exciting because it'll be the first Brawler figure that people will get in hand.
amazing.
Um, you
And
know,
for those that are
it'll
watching,
probably have to be airshipped.
yeah.
So.
And for those that are watching, Jason, that won't be able to make it, will there be some leftovers after that'll go up on the site to order?
I honestly don't know. It's gonna be their show exclusive. So if they want to sell, I'm sure they're gonna want to sell additional ones that haven't sold, but hopefully they all sell at this show.
Yeah,
I think it's just kind of part of the fun of an exclusive.
absolutely.
I can't say I don't want to speak for Brett. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, I know. No, fair. Thanks for
It,
sharing this.
it's awesome too that you bring up Lexi and Lexion's colors and stuff. That was one of the first figures that I saw when I was kind of brand new to the line, and I was like, this one I'm getting absolutely. But even with General
Cool.
Thing too, like I remember when we first started getting our first couple of figures in, and we're in the studio here, and I'm like, I remember saying to you, I'm like, okay, metallic blue and red on a gorilla, and it goes so well. Like,
Right.
and this was
Yeah.
before we really even knew like the versatility of like the palette, to your point, and like some of the new figures that are
Right.
coming, like they just it's nice. It's such an we always talk about what figures in your collection, command the shelf, and it just draws your eye, and
Right.
it just kudos to you guys on picking those colors, because it's just I never would have thought metallic blue and red, or to your
Thank
point,
you.
like the muted browns with the orange, and not to mention like the horror
Right.
armor. Like it just pops
Yeah,
beautifully.
we all
So
agree.
Yeah.
so for sure.
I, I
Speaking of, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, it's funny how these, little decisions in your life makes like these. You don't intend for them to have like a big impact on you, but I grew up in the '80s and '90s, and I remember right when we moved to our new house, my mom just kind of randomly got me a set of Crayola markers, and like that kind of became my color palette just forever, for now. Like it's my color palette still.
Unreal.
And so it's like my go-to AWOC color palette. Uh, I have other color palettes for other things like industrial design stuff. I tend to go for like a little bit of like 70s where it's kind of like a lot of burnt siennas,
Mhm.
like yellow golds, muted tans, stuff like that.
Tuscan Sunset.
But yeah,
Is that one
That's a
in
good
what's
one.
there?
That's a
that?
good one.
No, is it there?
What's that?
I was gonna say, is Tuscan Sunset in there? That one,
I
I
feel
think
like it should be if it's not. Yeah.
it might. Hey, might be a teaser. We don't know. Who knows what's coming down the pipe here? But one thing I want to say too, like what I really appreciate about I believe in culture in the sense of, the brand is an extension of you, and you can tell a lot about the brand and the people who are running the show and stuff through how they engage on social media, how they take time to, engage with people. And one thing I really appreciate is you guys have such a strong presence on Instagram, especially with reposting customs and dioramas and figure photography. And so have there been some posts that have number one, blown your mind? And has there been some posts where you're kind of like you're going to get, Derek or whoever else, and you're like, come and look at this photo, like look at this combos. Have there been a couple that have kind of stood out to you?
There's a lot of them, and like I don't want to name anyone in particular because like there's so many great
Sure.
photographers
Yeah.
doing like these really great what's scenes. They're so cool. And it's still extremely flattering, and I love to go through my discovery feed on Instagram and I'll like see our stuff and I'm like I didn't take that photo. Who took, and I'll go and look and see all their stuff and they've got a bunch of like cool wrestling photos. Like now there's the AWalk photography group has been doing a bunch of wrestling stuff. Like they have a theme
That's
for
awesome.
each, it's either each week or every other week. I don't remember, but they do like a new theme every week. And they just continue to impress and it's super flattering. And I just want everyone to know we don't take that type of stuff for granted. Um, I feel like we've got Instagram kind of figured out. I am trying TikTok. I feel like it's a little bit more geared towards, it's funny because it seems like it's more like towards teenagers and everything, and which you would think collect toys, but they aren't necessarily into as toys as much as we are, which is kind of funny and scary at the same time. And then we're also doing not Instagram, YouTube, which I'm trying to figure out as well. And Chris
Slowly,
Chaotic's
man.
helping us a lot with that, so that's
Yeah.
cool. What's that?
Yeah. I was just saying,
Yeah,
so are
it's one of
we.
those things,
Every day is a learning experience with it. So,
right? For sure. Yeah, and it's interesting because you would think the quality of the content would dictate, how much viewers there are and how much it's shared and stuff, but that's not always the case. So it's a guessing game as far as I'm concerned. Like I'm sure like Mr. Beast has like the algorithm and stuff figured out, but
yeah,
uh
back to Matrix.
I think a lot of us are just kind of trying to guess like how does this get eyes on and how do we get those people that are interested to share it to their friends?
That might just be it. Just saying Mr. Beast's name. We did a short not too long
Oh,
ago.
yeah.
My son is collecting these little mystery guys, Beast Labs creations,
Yeah.
and he pulled the 1 of 1,000 rare one. And for a while, we
Oh
didn't see
wow.
anywhere else pull it, and we have over 11,000 views on
Yeah.
that one short.
What?
It's
Dude,
crushing any
that's
other
so
video,
cool.
anything we've done.
That's awesome.
And he always checks in. He's like, "Hey, Dad, how's your podcast?
That's
My video
hilarious.
still number one." Like
Yeah.
he's pretty pumped
Yeah.
about it. It's pretty
That's
cool.
so cool though. We
Yeah.
did my little girl and I did the one that was it's funny because if you look at it, it looks like a big beer mug, but it's
Oh
like
yeah.
a
Yeah.
it's like a science kit. That one was so fun.
Yeah.
Like what's funny is like after we did the toy or whatever, I was like, here's the toy. And then I took the little canister for myself and I put Kali in it like he was like in like
Nice.
one of the
Oh
clones in the
yeah.
Like a
tube, you
double
know?
weapon app
I'm doing that.
style
I'm
thing.
doing
So
that for sure. I'm
that's
doing
that's
it.
what I used it for.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks for the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of that, speaking of displays, and to follow up on Drew's question, when you see people posting, your figures, is there anything that like stood out to you? Can you remember a time where like something that shocked you or was a little bit weird of,
Yeah.
something you didn't expect the way they posted some of the figures?
Not that I can think of. I think most of the time I think about how like I've got so many toys and like during COVID, I dressed my office like a kid's room. So like there's three or four shelves, right? And they're not just like stacked figures like shoulder to shoulder. It's like one shelf will be a bunch of figures, and then there's like board games and comics and everything. And it just looks
Yeah.
like something you'd see at an 80s cartoon or 80s movie, like a Spielberg movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then like, the COVID pack rat like phenomenon started happening where like you just got so much stuff that
Hmm.
it's like now it's all just like this crazy mess where there's just figures everywhere. And like, so seeing like a nice display like you guys, I'm just like, I got to get my act together. And clean it up and have it a little bit more organized looking.
We did that. Actually, we did an episode about that, about how like
We
COVID
did.
got away from us. We were just collecting everything, and I was like, we got to streamline this. Let's really like dial
Yeah.
into
Right,
the
for
collecting.
sure. Yeah.
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 I was like, oh, the world sucks. Bye, 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 bye. I feel better.
Yeah,
It's better than a hug.
yeah. So yeah, maybe we can dive a little bit into the creative process with you. You know, we want to know a little bit more, kind of just the design process, and what's something that maybe your collectors and your followers wouldn't guess. What's some challenges that maybe you never expected as you're designing and bringing a figure to life.
So when it started, it was just me. And then Utama and I met up during COVID. I distinctly remember like powering through Tiger King.
Mhm.
I finished the first episode and I was like, there's no way this can get crazier than it is. And then I was like looking on Instagram and I saw his stuff and I was like, this is cool. So I messaged him and he reached out to me and we just started really clicking. And we decided we're like, hey, let's make this a comic book, or let's reboot the comic that I had already done. And Arlen, at the time we were going ahead and like turning the 4-inch scale into the 6-inch scale. So Utama was like helping, refine and redesign in some cases all these figures that were 4-inch scale. Um, and then Dan Mitchell and Arlen and myself, we started really kind of all designing ourselves, together, and they understood my design language. So, sometimes I would have like the front of a figure or the front of a pack done. When I say pack, like, like a little backpack or something, I'd have like a certain amount of it designed, and Dan would like take the ball and just like finish the back. And I was like, that's perfect. So we
Right.
all work really well together. We all kind of check our egos at the door.
Nice.
It's all about making the best product we can. I think as far as like unforeseen challenges goes, um, that would probably be the use of plastics. I think that's one of those like little secret industry secrets that is very challenging. I am so proud of like our product. Like I feel like it's very sturdy and has just a really overall great feel. Um, and that's kind of a trade secret, is like the recipe to all the different things. Like, this guy's got so many different kinds of plastic on it. It's got like these soft, this skirting, having it soft enough to let it still be flexible, but hold up its integrity. All those little details like that uh are something that I hadn't thought of through. And luckily our project manager is fantastic with it. So the engineering and stuff we can handle and at least have an idea. But that was one of the things that, our project manager's knowledge really was essential to get the first figures off the launch pad.
So kind of sticking with that figure and you talked about Thane with like the plastics and what's soft, what needs to be soft to move is soft, and what needs to be a bit more rigid for durability is rigid. Like I will say, like the articulation on this line seems dialed in. Like you can tell that you've spent the time, where it matters in how are people going to pose them, how are people going to want to play with them, and stuff like that.
Right.
So that being said, though, have you guys ever gone the route of more or less what chicken or egg question here, where have you, okay, we've written the comic, we need to make this a figure now, or have you guys ever gone the route of you've drawn up a design for a figure and you're like, I got to put him in the comic so we can make a figure? Have you had kind of
Normally the character appears in the comic before it's made into a toy.
okay?
That is changing because
Okay.
we're working on the second story arc right now. And there's some like really fun, cool stuff. But the only exception to that currently is Blight. Utama and I kind of did it as a joke. We were trying to figure out stretch goals and stuff, and I thought it'd be funny to do like a negative version of Pale. And it was very much an homage in a way to the way the original Snake Eyes was, where they planned him to be like a camouflage deco, but they just literally ran out of money, so they were like, just do him black, and everyone loved the figure.
Yeah.
And Blight was such a popular figure, and he was kind of fun to look at, and we were like, we need to work it into the comics somehow. So that was a figure that was not
That's great.
intended to be part of the story, and it was so popular, and we enjoyed it so much that we wound up working him into the comic.
That's awesome. And so to kind of know that that can happen too, and you know, you talk about how it was kind of a joke and it's now taken off. Have you guys had any maybe designs or concept art or even conversations about figures that are maybe a bit too ambitious that you've maybe pulled back on because it either doesn't kind of fit the brand or it's maybe just too ambitious to go with for right now?
Um, I'll make a I'll make a different kind of analogy. So I played in a band professionally for years,
Nice.
and when we first started, we were playing like really complex metal type music, and I remember during gigs thinking, this is not fun because I'm like stressing out about doing fills and playing complicated stuff live, which in a studio it's one thing, but like having to redo it a bunch of times live is not enjoyable. So I made a
Comes a chore.
concerted effort to be a little bit more simplified and in a way disciplined and just kind of play what the songs needed, not necessarily playing like really flashy, fancy stuff. Um, so whenever we're doing character designs, we do try to keep that in mind. If you do see a character in the comic book that's like overly designed and very kind of like fancy and ornate, the chances are it's probably just a plot point. The character is just a plot point and will probably be like, killed off relatively soon so that Utama doesn't have to draw it a ton of times and so that, uh, it's not this huge detailed thing that's like showing up all the time. Um, and so, yeah, we try to keep it streamlined and straightforward and but keeping it interesting at the same time. Hopefully that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
great. One more question for you to wrap kind of your creative process. There's still a lot of brands out there and still some new indie brands too. They're still focusing on the 3.75-inch, 4-inch figures. Knowing this,
Mhm.
that was the first Kickstarter, that's how the brand started. What made you made the decision to jump to 6-inch figures?
I'll say this, I still love that scale and the stuff that people are putting out are fantastic. Like Skeletron stuff's coming out. And I went gaga over the Halo Infinite
Oh,
line. That was
that's
the
good.
last thing
Yeah.
like that was the last figure line that I really went kind of crazy over. I remember deciding to go to the 6-inch scale whenever Toy Fair got canceled because of COVID. I had a little bit, they refunded for the booth and everything. And I remember messaging Arlen and being like, what do you think about doing this in 6-inch scale? And he was like, yes. And I had also been, I mean, like, again, like with the COVID stuff, like, I know we were all kind of like on Big Bad Toy Store, like buying up like Star Wars Black Series and
Oh yeah.
Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe Classified had just come out. So I was like, man, I like this 6-inch scale. Like, and I was fighting it for so long. And I was like, yeah, just like what you like, and it's gonna be okay. Like, try it out. And so that was kind of the catalyst. The Toy Fair canceling gave me a little extra cash to play around with sculpts and everything, and that started it.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so Drew mentioned earlier, just, built such a good culture, community, just through my social media page I've met, I jumped into that group, the weekly posts and the
Hmm.
challenges for, Animal Warriors. Just, it's such a great community.
Yeah,
Everyone just
awesome.
loves the brand. How are you personally keeping a pulse on, what the collectors want next? Are you more fan poll? Do you kind of keep an eye on that first, or is it more kind of
Um,
intuition based on what gets into the line?
so I tend to make the figures and the characters that I want to play with.
Yeah.
And so I am trying to appeal to that audience. Um, as toy collectors, I'm sure you'll notice that um, a lot of times the most loud voices aren't necessarily the majority.
Mhm.
So I try not to take that approach as far as like fan polling goes. Um, but again, I do check my ego and like whenever people put out good suggestions and good ideas, I tend to listen. But it's gotta be something that's complementing my vision. So for example, whenever we revealed the scathing figure, two fans were like, man, his alternate head should be like a skull, like wearing like a skull. And we were like, and I was like, that's a cool idea. We're doing that. So it's the exception to the rule, but I tend to kind of stick to my vision, and but I very much trust Dan and Arlen and Utama's input as far as like, creative tweak goes.
Yeah. If I have any say in it, and I don't, and no skin in the game, just don't change anything. What you guys are doing is
Yeah,
fantastic, and
the
I
formula.
yeah, the
Thank
formula
you.
is working. The formula is working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I will say one thing I do have going as far as like the creative thing is, during lockdown, I planned out a bunch of stuff, and I wanted to have a certain sandbox to be able to do, to give myself a creative runway to go with, and I think we're like 2/3 into, so we've got a good bit of stuff that's just kind of we just kind of have in the barrel, kind of just waiting for production or whatever.
Yeah, that's great.
So talking about like more online and like looking at fan polls and everything like that too. Like from what I've seen on Instagram, like you guys have a very strong presence on Instagram and online. So is there any type of interactions that are kind of very significant that kind of stand out that maybe you guys bring up, still that was kind of either exciting or interesting or anything like that that's happened online?
Um, I don't remember exactly when it was, but I happened to make friends with a bunch of, the well-known YouTube personalities. And what's funny is like whenever we hang out in person, I think we both geek out that we're like talking to each other, but like, oh, we're just friends and hanging out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we'll go out to dinner and everything and just be geeky toy collectors. But I think that's one of those things that kind of feels surreal.
Yeah.
Um, and his name is Justin. He's this amazing stop motion guy.
Oh, cool.
And I kind of reached out to him and was like, dude, I'm so like just geeking out. He's done like all these like big things like Masters of the Universe animations, and
Cool.
I think he's done a couple of the Frazetta uh
Mhm.
like barbarian animations and stuff. So like
Yeah.
reaching out to like
That's
just
cool.
really talented creators like that is very, very cool. Another guy that was super nice, and I feel bad because I can't remember his name now, but if you watch Star Trek 4, the punk guy that's listening to the jam box on the bus that Spock puts to sleep, uh, he's done all kind of stuff for Jim Henson, and he was in
Wow.
Werewolf by Night. Yeah, he was in
Oh, no
Werewolf by
way.
Night. He
Right
was
on.
he was the guy with the big beard, and like I've met him and talked to him. He was super nice and just really just down to earth. So I guess just talking to like creatives that I really look up to, and I'm just like, holy
Yeah.
crap, I get to talk to this guy. I
That's
think
awesome.
that's one of the things that's a really great takeaway from doing this.
That's
That's
I'll speak for myself and probably both of us right now. We're feeling that right now, man. Like I said,
yeah.
this was a
Yeah.
toy line
Oh,
we're looking at,
no.
and we're like, whoa, like how do this is super cool, and now we get to sit with you, so we can relate a little bit to that probably too. It's a surreal feeling. So with getting back to kind of what's out right now, and like not to
Mhm.
mention the excitement about the stuff that's coming down the line, but right now, we're starting to see some figures sell out
Mhm.
and whatnot.
Right.
So is there any figures or maybe factions that you think that people are kind of sleeping on right now that are maybe going to be a hot figure that they got to grab while it's still there?
You know, I was surprised. Like we did a full wave of army builders, and they're just now starting to catch on. So like that was wave three, and wave four has been so much more popular. So, kind of going back to G.I. Joe and Star Wars, like, for years it seems like their really go-to thing was, I collected army builder everything like Cobra Troopers and
Vipers and yeah,
Crimson
Stormtroopers
Guards.
and everything.
Crimson
And
Crimson
so,
Guards got me.
don't start them on the Crimson
right,
Guards.
yeah. So I was kind of thinking along those lines as like in the comics, they've got armies and like people are gonna want armies.
Mhm.
Um, but like we put it out and like they sold, but they didn't sell as much as wave one and two did. And then wave four's got a bunch of like really, heavy hitters in it. So
Mhm.
I've found that those are just now starting to catch on. But I highly recommend them. I like to army build in fives or sevens, to kind of have like an odd number.
Yeah.
And so I'd recommend like kind of checking those out. Check out the Wave 3 figures. It makes your collection look so great to have like one hero and then like you got like a little squad behind you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
And
that
they
you
all
do the
come with a
additional.
secondary head.
Yeah,
So
that was just gonna say like the additional
Yeah.
heads, different head in there. You can really mix it up. But
Well,
I
and
have a
armor
question.
packs.
right.
But I
Yeah.
have a question. Is 12 mongrels too many? Is that too many to have? Because those
I
things.
I say you
I
do
mean,
what you want, you know.
oh
Yeah, you do.
yeah,
You do what makes you feel good. You
yeah,
you play your own sandbox. And but just kind of building on the army builder stuff, like we had two army builders in wave one, and they like those were like really popular. So I was like, we have to have replacements for it, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, anyway.
yeah. That's great. So I know we touched a little bit on nostalgia earlier. How much of the strategy is aimed towards nostalgia, or like creating new lore? Like I know we're gonna get into it. We have a question about Bushido coming up, but I don't. How
Sure.
important is it new lore? To hook in new followers, new
So
fans of the line.
so the nostalgia idea was just to kind of dip your toe into the line before you realize that it's its own thing. It is done very much in the love of the 80s action figure cartoon comic, you know, three trio
Yeah.
or trifecta. But once people kind of get the comic and experience the actual characters, they'll realize it's very much its own thing. And I've said this a couple of times, but I think it's so important for, collectors that are our age to really pass on our love of action figures to their children.
Yeah.
Uh, because if they don't pick it up, it's not going to continue.
Mhm.
So, uh, I think
Like
it's
the old
important to
spoon
like
collection.
really share your hobbies with your kids, you know. You
Yeah.
go fishing with your kids and show them how to like go camping and or play baseball or football. Uh I think toy collectors should do the same thing with their kids, and it's fun to share a hobby with them, you know.
Yeah, and I think we all have that.
Absolutely.
I've distinct memories of like, growing up Christmas morning and, getting G.I. Joe vehicles and just sitting there, my dad saw me put the decals on and all of that, right? And now having those memories
Yeah,
with
for
my
sure.
kids
That's
now
so cool,
doing
right?
the same thing. Oh, it's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've
Yep.
talked about it before on the show too. Like I still own the very two first Spider-Man that I ever got from my mom. I
Oh
remember
wow.
we're up in Canada, so it was in Zellers. That was like the secret spot
Yeah.
that my mom had the hookup
Yeah.
that no one ever went to, and
Nice.
there were still toys on the pegs. And I remember being, I don't know, I was probably a
What?
good boy for a week or something like that. And I still
That's
have
so
those two
cool.
figures, and it's like that blows people's minds. And it's like, no, like there's lots of
Yeah.
people who have those figures, you know? So
Yeah. I've got a ton of
it,
my original
yeah.
toys
It's quite
for
cool to
sure.
think,
Yeah.
though, there might be
Yeah.
30 years from now, oh, this was a SPERO toy that I got,
Right. I
my
know,
dad
man.
took me, or we went
It's
to
gonna
a
be so
con,
cool.
right? Pretty cool. Pretty
Right,
cool.
for
I
sure.
have a
Yeah.
video somewhere of my son when he was 3 playing with the LJN King Kong Bundy and Coco Beware. He's just
Nice.
carrying those things
That's
everywhere. It's
awesome.
pretty cool because those were mine when I was
That's so cool.
yeah, it's awesome.
That's awesome.
So getting a little bit into the future, what's to come for the brand. You've been very open. I've watched some videos of just kind of upcoming timelines. I forgot the YouTube video I watched, but you kind of laid out the chart of what's coming in the fall next year. I think we're
Right.
we're already lined up to like 2027 when we can see. Man, I'm just gonna say it now. There is a
Yeah.
space on my shelf waiting for Mama to get here. Like that thing just
I've
blows.
got to figure out how to do. I'm gonna have to put it on like a top shelf.
No,
It's not as big as the dragon. It's about the size of the troll. So it's the size of like the Four Horsemen Mythic Legion
Okay.
troll.
yeah, yeah.
So if you have that figure, it's gonna be that size.
So
I don't
he'll
know.
hold up the shelf. He'll
Yeah.
hold up
Yeah.
the
Just
shelf.
put his
Yeah, he's
hands
gonna
up. Yeah.
be. He will definitely command a presence. Um, So like I think I want to say we're like 4 to 5 months off of our projections of like delivery stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, so they're like wrapping up the tooling right now, which if they were done with the tooling and they didn't have other projects ahead of us, they could just go into production. But there's two other projects ahead of us. Uh, so once those are done, they'll start production in the summer. And then I'm guessing it'll probably take like a month and a half to 2 months to to finish the production. And then we have to worry about the shipping. So we're just kind of saying, fall of 2025 for
Yeah.
the brawlers to come in.
Yeah, that's great. Now with that, obviously, I got off track a little bit with Mamba, but and you said too, there's some stuff in the barrel for when you need it. Is there some things that you've got there that you think could really shake up the line that could really blow some people away? Like reading the comics, there's
Yeah,
some.
we're working on something right now that I am super excited about it, and I've been wanting to do it for a long time. But knowing how long it takes, like the production stuff to
Sure.
come to fruition, we're working stuff into the comic right now, and so like it's important for us to start working on it now, so that way, whenever the comic story arc wraps up, we can be like, oh, and by the way, here's the toys to pre-order, or they might just be, ready to go. Who ideally
Yeah.
they'll be ready to go, but we'll see.
Awesome. That's
Um,
exciting.
yeah, for the Bushido stuff, I wanted to offer the pre-order in May, but I don't want to offer the pre-orders until the brawlers are done with production and starting to like ship at least. That way, I don't want to offer another pre-order until like something's going out the door.
Hmm.
So as soon as those are like on their way, we'll launch the pre-orders for the Bushido stuff.
Yeah. And mentioning Bushido very quickly, how did that come about? I mean, obviously, Animal Warriors still has so much steam, so much, fire behind it that people are loving it. What
Yeah.
made you decide to go in there, and will we maybe see a crossover down the road?
So we're not going to see a crossover. But that's Dan's baby. So like I'm the art director for Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. So Dan's the art director for the Bushido stuff. And so it was kind of fun to switch roles because I was like
Yeah.
doing paint masters for that. And he was like, I wanted to have more like a lot more paint application and washes and stuff. So the Animal Warrior stuff's very much, I think of them as like the bells and whistles of like a Marvel Legends figure where it's just got like everything you would want. There's no like skimping, or there's no like back stuff that's not painted or whatever for
Mhm.
whatever reason. And the Bushido stuff's more like a high-end import toy.
Nice.
So
Cool.
Gotcha.
it's
So
got a little bit more advanced articulation, uh, a little bit more similar to import toys as well.
so,
Awesome.
so with you've got Bushido coming up and stuff too. Can we do like let's just I want to throw one kind of what if at you type thing. So let's say like IP licensing cost was not even an issue. We have an episode or two, I think, in season one and in season two, where GI Joe and Transformers have collabed. What would kind of be where would you see SPERO Toys and AWOC? Where do you think the dream IP or the dream kind of licensing collab would be with them?
Um, I don't know if it's like the dream IP, but I like the idea of switching up the styles of like what we're offering. Like, so the AWOC stuff seems very much, like Marvel Legends, sword and sorcery focused,
Mhm.
and the Bushido stuff's like more high end and realistic type focused. I would love to do the Venture Brothers. I think it's such a fun
Oh,
cartoon.
okay.
The character design so cool. Um, and it's something that's like it's got a cult following, but I haven't thought about it too much. So uh and I mean I'd love to do Battle Beast. I think that would be fun and it would fit really
Yeah,
well with what we're
yeah,
doing.
Unreal.
Um
Yeah. Yeah.
this is
Stuff like
that's
that,
over right
not
there.
not something that's like super in the mainstream right now. I think it'd be kind of fun to do like a deep dive type of thing.
That'd be wicked. That'd be
Yeah, that's
wicked.
really cool.
And so, talking about kind of like next level evolution type thing. Right now we've got comics, we've got figures. Like where where do you see kind of Spiro's next big evolutionary jump type thing? Like is there going to be more stop motion? Is there going to be cartoons? Is there going to be video or anything like that you could share? Where do you think the future
So
evolution is going to go?
if you've read the comic, you'll notice that it's very much formatted like a cartoon.
Mhm.
And so our big goal would be to get some sort of pilot option. Um, we've got some stuff going, but we're not like actually like signing papers or anything like that. Our
Yeah.
our our main goal right now is to get the indie comics published with a bigger publisher. And then we've got directors and showrunners that we can pitch to, but in my opinion, we're just not ready yet. Like I would like to have, a bigger publisher so that we can leverage that to a showrunner and kind of have them excited about it.
Just actually, while you mentioned that, depending on publisher and stuff, um, would you ever consider going like trade paperback or maybe like the hardcover,
Yeah,
like
so the idea,
the
we're going to do a
omnibus?
trade paperback for every 5 issues.
Oh, awesome.
The only reason we haven't started doing the trade paperback for the five that are out is again because we would like to, approach a publisher and offer them the singles before we offer the trade. But that is the
100%, yeah.
plan, is to offer
That
a
is
trade for
awesome.
every 5 issues.
That's super
Thank you.
exciting to hear too. Like,
Go get them.
so
Oh, cool!
Dean
Look at
has
that. There you go.
Get them.
Dean has the physical
I
comic,
don't have. I have
and
one of those. I don't have physical copies of them. I have issue one, and that's it.
Oh,
yeah.
unreal.
So I travel like a lot off and on with work and stuff too. So I went with the digital ones for my tablet, and I enjoy
Yeah.
them. But also like I love a hardcover. It's something.
Oh, for sure.
It might be the
Yeah.
collector in me too, where it's
Mm.
just it's on the shelf. It's nice. It's all organized. It's probably
Right.
simplifying and stuff.
Yeah.
But no, that's really exciting to hear that that those 5 issue hardcovers could be in the future. That's super super exciting.
That's great.
Yeah. We've got the cover and everything done. It's just we haven't actually printed it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's
No
awesome.
worries.
Well, we definitely appreciate your time, Jason. You've gone in deep with some questions for us. We appreciate it. We got one little more round for you, a little rapid fire.
Yeah.
Just a little
Have
yes,
some fun
no,
with it.
this or that, and just see.
Let's do it.
Use out.
So
Get the timer on the clock.
do we
and,
want to alternate?
back and forth? Let's do
Okay,
it.
so
All
we're
right.
gonna go back and forth. We're gonna give you 2 options, and you're just gonna throw out your option.
Yeah.
All right. Okay,
Yeah.
so you want to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
All right. First question: soft goods or molded plastic?
Soft goods.
Marvel or DC?
Marvel.
Fave line to collect outside of AWOC, of course.
G.I. Joe Classified.
If you could travel in time, would you go to the past or to the future?
Neither.
Nice.
It dodged it. What's a figure you've always wanted or want now that you don't own?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Geez. I can't think of one. Oh man. Come back to it. Let's
Yeah,
come
we'll
back
Come
to
back.
that. I'll
to it.
think
Come back
about
Okay,
it.
Nintendo or Sega?
So I got a Sega and I realized that the Nintendo was better. And but I couldn't admit it at the time. So I'm gonna go with Nintendo.
Okay.
Yeah, fair. Favorite movie?
Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Nice.
Favorite nostalgic cartoon?
Probably, oh man, that's tough. The Secret of Nim.
Okay.
nice. Okay.
Nice.
Toys R Us or KB Toys?
Dang, that's tough. I'm gonna go with Toys R Us.
Okay. Chinari or Horde?
Chinari.
Okay.
Nice.
We got to come back. Don't you think we
go
forgot?
back one.
Don't you
Go
think
back.
we forgot?
Yeah.
What was it?
Figure that you wanted then or now and you still don't own?
Man, I guess I'll go with now. I wanted that amazing the Four Horsemen dragons, just absolutely amazing. Like,
Things are
golly, I've seen it in person.
incredible.
I think I've seen it 3 times. No, twice in person. No, 3 times. 3 times in person. It gets cooler every time I see it. So I'd probably go with that. That thing is just insanely awesome. When I was a kid, it was the original AT-AT. And then I wound up getting the 2010 version, and that's still like just a grail piece. I just absolutely love that thing.
Yeah, mine for sure, I think, would be the original, like the 84 whale, like the G.I. Joe whale. I always think sometimes
Oh yeah, that
I
thing
just want to
looks so
find the
cool.
shell of it and then over time just
Right?
in pieces and build it myself.
Yeah,
But
that's a
I think I
good
gotta get to
idea.
some point in my life.
Mine's not as big as either of those, but growing up, like I said, I still have those 2 Spider-Man. The one that I always wanted that always got away, it's one of those lifelong figure victories, is the Spider-Man animated series, Venom, where it was Eddie Brock, where he had the brick top kind of yellow haircut. The rubber Venom
mask.
mask
Yeah,
and the
I
rubber
remember that
Venom
one,
that grew on his chest.
Oh,
Never a
that
figure I
sounds
got.
cool.
It's out there. There's one out there for me, but
Yeah.
awesome. Jason, I just want to open the floor. Any kind of closing remarks, comments, anything on your end?
We just revamped the website, so we kind
Nice.
of spiced up some stuff and added a couple of things. So if you haven't gone on the website, check it out at SPEROtoys.com. You can follow us on Instagram at Spiro Toys.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube at Spiro. I don't know what that is, but I don't know exactly what it is.
We'll link it down
We'll
below.
link it.
Yeah,
We'll
thank y'all
link it
so
for you.
much
Yeah,
for
you got it.
checking it out. Definitely go on the website, and if you haven't read the comic, the first issue is free, so you can kind of dip your toe in and see if it's something you'd like to check out, and then come back the next day and buy all the toys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right on. Like we always say here, and this one's directly to you there, Jason, as well as the people who are watching. We want to thank you for taking the time to unwind with us. We can't thank you enough for your time today there, buddy.
Thank you. And there you have it. Great interview with Jason. We appreciate it more than you know. I hope everyone is going to check out Animal Wars: The Kingdom. Jason and the team at SPERO are doing some incredible things that other independents and even some of the bigger juggernaut companies like Hasbro can learn from. Honestly, like color palettes, articulation, story behind the characters, creativity.
Incredible.
It's incredible. Well done, my friend, and we're looking forward to big things from Animal Wars: The Kingdom in 2026.
To bring it back to you, the community, we started season 2 with 37 subs. And those 37 subs, thank you for taking that click or that, whatever link you followed to find us. Season 1 was a lot of fun because we were building an identity. We didn't know what we were doing. We just kind of set it up one night and just tried to make something that we would enjoy. Mm-hmm. We're now just shy of 300 subs after season 2, which is, it's
and we've been hiding for 11 months. So they keep building. So it's fantastic.
Yeah. So from us to you, we are back. We're so excited. Like, honestly, cannot wait to start putting out content. Can't wait to start engaging again with you all. As we always say on the show, thank you for taking the time to unwind. We'll see you guys on the next one.